I think we've all learned a good lesson at the end of this episode. Never completely trust the government's word. Hello, welcome to my channel where I like to talk about all the geeky pop culture that I enjoy and consume, and today we're talking about the first episode, the premiere of the new Disney Plus Marvel series, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. If you're new here, do subscribe because I do lots of pop culture videos on a whole range of topics like the MCU. Obviously, I've been reviewing WandaVision up until now, and now Falcon and the Winter Soldier is taking over. But also Doctor Who, Star Trek. I've got a Red Dwarf podcast on the go at the moment as well, so do check out all of those, hit subscribe, and if you'd be so kind, maybe just also while you're down there, hit the like button for this video. That would be most appreciated. So the first episode, spoilers, by the way, I'm not going to avoid spoilers specifically in this review, but I will give my general thoughts of it initially for the first, 30 seconds. I liked it. It wasn't as unique as WandaVision was. WandaVision was a very unique show. It had a very unique style to it. This feels like a mixture of MCU movie / sort of prestige television drama, emotional drama. It feels like something that we've had before many times, and it feels, especially with the opening sequence, like it's part of the MCU. I mean, it is part of the MCU, but it feels the same tone as the rest of the MCU movies as well. So it's not as unique, and one of the things I loved about WandaVision was its uniqueness and its quirkiness, so it doesn't have that. But I don't think we should be massively comparing these two shows. That they are very different shows. Yeah, they're both MCU TV shows, but we shouldn't be hung up too much on comparing them. So that's all I'm going to say on the comparisons. They are very different shows. They're meant to be very different shows. It's like, the old stereotype of comparing apples and oranges. They're both fruit, but they're not meant to be the same. So we do kick off with a very high-octane, something with brilliant special effects, high-octane action sequence that could easily be the opening sequence for an MCU movie, or some action sequence that takes part in an MCU movie somewhere. They kick off firmly with that. However, this isn't a massively action-packed show so far. It's got action scenes in it, definitely, but I would say this show so far, just from the first episode, seems to be very much a character piece, looking at how Bucky and Falcon and Sam are dealing with the world they now find themselves in and the position they now find themselves in. Their personal lives, or lack of in the case of Bucky's case, and where their place is in the world. So yeah, we're going to get these sort of thriller elements, these action elements in it as well, and I'm sure that will probably increase as we get more into the plot. But I don't think that's the focus of the series. The focus of the series seems to be a character examination. And I'm all here for that. I noticed that Sam says he's been working for the Air Force for the last 6 months, basically since they got back from the blip. But so does that mean the Avengers have completely gone? I might make a video on that, maybe. Have the Avengers disbanded? What do you think? I mean, several of them are dead. One of them's gone off into space. Several of them have gone off into space. But there are still ones that should be around on Earth. What's happened to them? Maybe we'll find out some more. We know the War Machine, Don Cheadle's character, Rhodey, is back with the Air Force, seemingly. He's in full military uniform there in the museum's dedication scene. So he's back there working in his day job. Who knows? Without Stark funding, maybe they just can't afford to carry on as the Avengers. Although Pepper's still around, you'd think she'd still fund them. I said we started on the big action scene. We actually started on a very, very somber moment of Sam packing up the shield. Then we go into the action, and then we find out why afterwards he was packing up the shield. And to take with him to the dedication at the museum in Washington. And I think I did it a disservice by glossing over that and making out the action sequences first, because the fact that sequence there, the very sort of somber, I think that was a good indication of what we're going to get throughout the series. They obviously set some things in motion as well with the sort of plot arc of the series. We've got this mysterious organization. First, we get reference to the LAF. I'm not sure if that's a reference to something in the comics or not. Maybe fill me in the comments below if it is. But also this other organization that Sam's colleague is going around finding clues about, with this mysterious hand and the world symbol that want a borderless world, and what that will entail. I'm guessing that's going to be Baron Zemo's group that we're going to find out more about. We obviously already know he's in it. We get the scene later on where this person is investigating a bit more and finds a location where something is going to happen. And it turns out that they're robbing a bank by the looks of it, this organisation. And he gets a bit caught up in that. So we get sort of starting to sow the seeds of the mystery about what this organisation is. I think it's fairly obvious that it's going to be Baron Zemo's organisation, so I don't think that's much of a mystery. But it's getting the seeds sown, which is quite nice. But this whole first episode, after that first action scene, and barring that little bit of action where his friend goes off, is very much focusing on sort of setting up where the characters are. I quite like that. We've had the blip. This is how this affects people. Was explored in that one episode of WandaVision, where we see Monica's backstory, and we get a bit more of it here. And it's interesting to see that sort of repercussions of people just returning after 5 years away. We get obviously Sam with his sister and all the sort of family scenes there, and dealing with the family business and the fact that they can't get a loan even though he's saved the world. They won't give him a loan based on that because he doesn't have a credit history. He hasn't had any income for the last 5 years because there has been he hasn't been there for the last 5 years. He hasn't existed for the last 5 years. He got blipped out of existence. So you got Sam dealing with his place in the world. At the beginning, he doesn't feel like he doesn't feel like, even though Steve himself passed in the shield and said, "This is yours now," he doesn't feel like anybody. He doesn't feel worthy. He feels like the shield and the symbol is Steve, and that is it. So that's why he gives it to the museum. But he's kind of dealing with like what's his purpose in the world, and you can see that in the bank scene, for instance, when the bank manager the bank employee is very pleased to sort of get a selfie with him and stuff. He saved the world, but it won't help him get a bank loan. And then you've got Bucky, who's in therapy and dealing with his issues, of which I'm sure he has more than are just on display here, but he has a lot of guilt about the actions that he did during his time as the Winter Soldier and how he's dealing with that. But he's also dealing with, he doesn't really have a sense of self. What is his purpose now? He doesn't have any friends. He doesn't talk to people. He doesn't even pick up the call when people do ring him. Like, his therapist mentions that his phone has several missed calls from Sam, and he just ignores them. He's sort of isolating himself, which did confuse me a little bit when we then saw him sort of being all chummy with this restaurant owner or shop owner, and this old man who I was thinking, oh, so he has made friends. But we later find out that's because this man is on his list of people that he needs to make reparations to. He's got this little black book, sort of like Steve's black book of things, pop culture that he needed to catch up with, that he had in Winter Soldier. Well, this is Bucky's list of things that he needs to make amends for, and that includes things like getting people arrested that he helped get into positions of power, ex-Hydra plants, to this man whose son we find out through the nightmare scene that he has had, although we don't know it at the time, we only find that out later, that was this man's son, and Bucky killed him back when he was the Winter Soldier. When Bucky goes on a date, which the old man sort of has arranged with him with the girl in the restaurant, the girl says a line which struck me particularly, probably because of my own personal situation, that there are words for people that have lost wives or husbands, widower. There are words for people that have lost parents, orphans. but there's not a word for people that have lost children, and that struck me a little bit of lump in my throat, because as someone who has lost a child, that was a moment that I was like, oh yeah, wow, I'd never thought of that. But yeah, that was a nice poignant moment. I really, really liked that moment. This episode was a lot of sort of setup, like I say, with the characterization of, just sort of getting us into a feeling of where they were, where they are in the world now, and what they're feeling, and how they feel they fit into it or don't fit into it, as the case may be. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. I don't really know what to say. I don't think I have any major negatives about it. It was good. I like the action scenes we got were interesting. The mystery, well, it's not really a mystery. The story arc elements were seeded. I suspect both of those seeded sort of story arc elements and the action will pick up as the series progresses. But I do hope they keep this sort of introspective character moment stuff as well as we explore how they fit into the world. And then, of course, we get the bombshell at the end that, yep, the government has taken his donation of the shield that is meant to be in the museum, that he felt nobody should have it but Steve, so he donated it to the museum, and the government has gone and taken it and given it to a new Captain America. How dare they? How very rude. I imagine he's going to have some words about that. I imagine he might be calling Don Cheadle back up, to Rhodey back up, to say, hold on a minute, you said I did the right thing, they've gone and taken it, what's going on here? And part of this story is going to be maybe taking the shield back somehow. By the end of it, I fully expect Sam to be Captain America by the end of this series. So I enjoyed it. It was good. Sort of enjoyable. Nothing has really jumped out at me as like, oh wow, this is amazing. There were some nice moments, the date scene, as well as just that line that struck me personally. I thought the date scene generally that he went on was a nice scene with him interacting, seeing his awkwardness, seeing his out of timeness as well, where he brings flowers and she says, oh, that's very old fashioned of you. Well, he hasn't really dated since the 1940s, so that's what you did in the 1940s. And the joke about, she asks him, oh, how old are you? And he says 106. Being completely truthful. But, of course, she thinks he's just joking. There's some nice little moments in there between characters. I wonder if she'll pop up again throughout the series. So, yeah, all right. It's off to an okay start. Nothing amazing, just enjoyable 40 minutes of television. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. And I'll see you then. Goodbye.